Have you ever found yourself saying something that, shortly after, makes you wish you had stayed silent? It's a situation we've all been in. But what if I told you there are certain phrases that the wisest people in the world never utter? Today, we're going to explore 11 things that, according to Buddhist wisdom, a truly intelligent person never says. And I promise you, the last one will surprise you and might completely change the way you approach challenges in your life. In this video, not only will you discover what these phrases are, but also why avoiding them can be a key step toward living a more conscious and fulfilling life. So stay until the end, because what you learn today could transform not just your conversations, but also your way of thinking and acting. Let's dive into this fascinating blend of ancient wisdom and modern psychology. 1. This is impossible. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where something seems completely out of reach? Maybe it was a project at work, a personal challenge, or even a dream you've had for years that always seemed unattainable. The phrase, "this is impossible," reflects our own mental limitations, not reality. When we say, "this is impossible," what we're actually doing is giving up before we even try. It's like building an invisible wall in our mind, one that prevents us from seeing the possibilities beyond the immediate obstacle. Buddhism teaches us that the mind is extraordinarily powerful and that our perceptions and beliefs can shape our reality. This idea is deeply rooted in Buddhist practice, where the importance of the mind in creating our world is emphasized. An ancient Buddhist proverb says, "With our thoughts, we create the world." This doesn't mean you can change reality just by thinking about it, but it does suggest that our perceptions can influence how we experience reality. When you tell yourself, "this is impossible," you're closing the door to any opportunity for growth or success. But what if instead you said to yourself, "this is difficult, but not impossible"? This small change in mindset can have a huge impact. A study conducted at Stanford University by Professor Carol Dweck on the growth mindset found that people who believe they can develop their skills and knowledge through effort are more likely to overcome challenges and achieve success. These people don't see failures as the end of the road, but as an integral part of the learning process. Imagine you're an explorer in a vast unknown territory. Saying "this is impossible" is like deciding it's not even worth trying to find a way through the dense forest ahead of you. But if you keep your mind open and curious, you might discover hidden paths, unexpected routes that take you where you never thought you could go. The next time you face a challenge that seems insurmountable, instead of giving up, ask yourself, "what can I do to make this possible?" The solution may not be obvious right away, but by asking this question, you open your mind to new possibilities. You can start looking for alternatives, asking for help, or researching new ways to approach the problem. In doing so, you may find that what seemed impossible is actually just an unexplored path. Remember, great inventions and discoveries throughout history were achieved because someone refused to accept the idea that something was impossible. Electricity, space travel, cures for deadly diseases, all began with someone who said, "I'm going to try even if everyone else thinks it's impossible." So the next time you face a challenge, eliminate the word "impossible" from your vocabulary. Instead, adopt a mindset of curiosity and openness, and watch as new solutions and paths begin to emerge that previously seemed hidden. 2. That's not my problem. We live in a society where it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking only about ourselves. Daily worries, work stress, personal responsibilities, all can make us feel like we already have enough on our plate without worrying about other people's problems. And so the phrase, "that's not my problem," becomes a quick and convenient way out. But this is where a truly intelligent person, inspired by Buddhist wisdom, knows that this attitude is short-sighted and, in the long run, harmful to everyone. Buddhism teaches the concept of interconnectedness, that all beings are intrinsically connected. In the Heart Sutra, one of the most important texts in Mahayana Buddhism, it is stated that form is emptiness and emptiness is form, which is interpreted as meaning that everything that exists is interrelated. Nothing exists in isolation. This means that the problems of others, even if they don't directly affect us at first, will eventually have an impact on us in some way or another. When we say, "That's not my problem," we are ignoring this fundamental interdependence. A classic example is the environment. For decades, many people and corporations said, "Pollution is not my problem," only to discover now that climate change affects everyone, without exception. If we had understood earlier that environmental problems in one region are global problems, we could have taken more effective and timely measures to mitigate the damage. This principle also applies to human relationships and community. A study from the University of California, Berkeley, found that people who actively participate in their community and care about the well-being of others tend to be happier and healthier. These people understand that by improving the conditions of their environment, they are also improving their own lives. It's not about carrying the weight of the world's problems, but about recognizing that a small act of help or compassion can have a significant impact. Imagine a boat at sea with a small leak. If one person on one end of the boat says, "That's not my problem, it's on the other side of the boat," eventually everyone will sink. Similarly, by ignoring other people's problems, we allow those difficulties to grow and ultimately affect everyone. Instead of saying, "That's not my problem," an intelligent person asks, "How can I help, even a little?" This approach not only contributes to general well-being, but also makes us feel more connected and fulfilled. The next time you face a situation where you're tempted to say, "That's not my problem," stop and consider how you could make a difference, no matter how small. Don't underestimate the power of a small act of kindness or support. Sometimes that's all it takes to change the course of a difficult situation. 3. I've always been like this. The phrase, "I've always been like this," sounds like a statement of identity, a way of saying, "This is who I am and I'm not going to change." It's easy to see how this mentality can seem comforting. After all, change is uncomfortable and requires effort. However, this phrase is one of the most insidious traps we can fall into. It's like wrapping yourself in a cozy blanket that actually keeps you trapped in a very limited space. Buddhism teaches that life is impermanent, that everything is in constant change, including ourselves. One of the fundamental principles of Buddhism is the concept of anicca, impermanence. This principle reminds us that everything, from our emotions to our circumstances, is in constant flux. Therefore, clinging to the idea that "I've always been like this" is ignoring a fundamental truth of existence. We are meant to change, and that change is essential for our growth and evolution. When we say, "I've always been like this," we are justifying behaviors or attitudes that in many cases no longer serve us or even harm us. It's like continuing to wear a pair of shoes that are too small because they were once your favorites. As life progresses, our needs and circumstances change, and so must we. A Harvard University study on adaptability and resilience found that people who are willing to change and adapt to new circumstances are more likely to succeed and thrive in the long term. These people don't see themselves as static. Instead, they see themselves as beings in constant development, always seeking ways to improve and evolve. Imagine you are a sculptor working on a clay statue. Saying, "I've always been like this," is like refusing to mold the clay, insisting that the initial shape is the final one. But life offers us constant tools and opportunities to sculpt ourselves into better versions of ourselves. By refusing to change, we are giving up our ability to grow and improve. The next time you find yourself saying, "I've always been like this," ask yourself if that version of yourself is still the best possible one. Is that attitude or behavior really helping you, or is it just a way to avoid the effort that change requires? By adopting a growth mindset, you open yourself to new possibilities and experiences that can enrich your life in ways you never imagined. Remember that every day is a new opportunity to reinvent yourself. You don't have to be the person you were yesterday, not even an hour ago. You can change and improve constantly, and in doing so, you will not only transform your life but also the lives of those around you. 4. I don't have time. In the hustle and bustle of modern life, "I don't have time" is a phrase we've all said at some point. It seems like a valid excuse, given that we live in a world where the demands on our time seem endless. However, behind this phrase lies an uncomfortable truth. When we say, "I don't have time," what we're really saying is, "This isn't important enough for me right now." This is a crucial distinction, and understanding it can completely change how we manage our priorities and our time. Buddhism teaches us to be mindful of each moment, to live in the present. Instead of seeing time as a finite resource that's always slipping away, Buddhism invites us to consider it as a series of moments, each one an opportunity to be fully present and make conscious decisions. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh has said, "The present moment is the only time we have. It is the only moment in which we can be truly alive." When we say, "I don't have time," we are often avoiding facing our true priorities. It's easy to say you don't have time to exercise, to meditate, or to spend time with your loved ones, but the truth is that we are always choosing how to invest our time. A study conducted by Dr. Laura Vanderkam, an author and time management expert, revealed that people who feel most stressed about time are those who aren't aware of how they're using it. These people often feel trapped in a routine of constant busyness, but without a real sense of accomplishment or satisfaction. Imagine you have a glass filled with water. If you keep adding small things like sand and pebbles, eventually you won't have space for what really matters, like the big rocks that represent your true priorities. But if you start by placing the big rocks first, the other things will find their place around them. It's the same with time. If you focus first on what is really important, you'll find that you have time for everything else. Instead of saying, "I don't have time," an intelligent person reorganizes their priorities and asks, "What is most important to me right now?" By doing this, you start to see that you have more control over your time than you thought. You can make more conscious decisions about how you use it and start eliminating those activities that don't bring you real value. The next time you find yourself saying, "I don't have time," stop and reconsider. Do you really not have time, or are you just prioritizing other things? Maybe it's time to reevaluate how you're spending your time and make some adjustments to better align it with your true values and goals. In doing so, you'll not only be more efficient, but also more satisfied with how you're living your life. 5. I can't. Saying "I can't" is one of the most common forms of self-sabotage. It's like putting a lock on the door before even trying to open it. This phrase not only reflects a lack of confidence in our abilities, but it can also become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe you can't do something, it's likely that you won't even try, which guarantees that you won't succeed. Buddhism places great emphasis on the power of the mind. The Dalai Lama has said, "True transformation begins in the mind." This means that our beliefs, especially about ourselves, can deeply influence our reality. When we say "I can't," we are limiting our ability to grow and overcome challenges. We are closing the door to new experiences and learning opportunities that could enrich our lives. A study published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology showed that people who adopt a "yes, I can" mindset are more likely to persevere in difficult tasks and ultimately succeed. This study found that simply changing our internal language from "I can't" to "I can try" can have a significant impact on our motivation and outcomes. This mindset not only allows you to face challenges with more confidence, but also prepares you to learn from your mistakes and keep improving. Imagine you're facing a mountain. Saying, "I can't climb it," leaves you standing at the foot of the mountain without even trying. But if you tell yourself, "I'm going to try," even if you don't reach the summit on your first attempt, every step you take brings you closer and makes you stronger. Over time, what once seemed impossible becomes an achievable reality. The next time you face a difficult task, instead of saying, "I can't," try reframing the situation. Ask yourself, "What do I need to do to achieve this?" Or, "How can I get a little closer to my goal?" This simple shift in mindset can open up new possibilities and make challenges seem less intimidating. Remember, "I can't" is just a belief, not a fact. You can change that belief at any time. By doing so, you'll realize that you have much more power and potential than you thought. Don't limit yourself with your own words. Instead, challenge those limiting beliefs and watch how you begin to achieve things that once seemed out of reach. 6. I don't care. Saying "I don't care" is a way of emotionally disconnecting from what's around us. It's a phrase that suggests indifference, but it can also be a way of protecting ourselves from getting too involved, especially in situations we perceive as uncomfortable or irrelevant. However, this attitude of disinterest can lead us to miss out on important opportunities for connection and personal growth. Buddhism teaches the importance of compassion and interconnectedness between all beings. In the words of Buddha, compassion is that mental state that removes suffering from others and gives us the strength to be stronger and more connected. Compassion is not just about caring for others, but also about recognizing that what affects them will eventually affect us as well. In our modern society, independence and not needing anyone are often valued. However, this mentality can lead to a disconnection that ultimately can be harmful. A study conducted by the University of Michigan found that people who show empathy and compassion towards others tend to have better physical and mental health. This study suggests that by caring for others, we are not only helping to improve their lives, but also improving our own. Imagine you're part of a work team and someone is struggling with a difficult task. Saying "I don't care" is like ignoring a flat tire on a car that everyone is riding in. Sooner or later, that problem will affect the entire team, including you. But if you take a moment to help, you not only improve the immediate situation, but also strengthen collaboration and trust within the group. The next time you feel tempted to say, "I don't care," try to reflect on why you feel that way. Is it really something irrelevant to you, or are you avoiding getting involved for some reason? Ask yourself how you could show more empathy or compassion in that situation, even if it's just through a small gesture. Showing interest and care for others doesn't mean you have to solve all their problems, but it does mean being present and aware of how your actions and attitudes can influence collective well-being. By shifting your focus from "I don't care" to "How can I contribute?", you will be cultivating a sense of connection and purpose that can enrich both your life and the lives of others. 7. I'll do it later. Procrastination is something we've all done at some point, and the phrase "I'll do it later" is the mantra of procrastination. It's easy to put things off, especially when it comes to tasks we find difficult, boring, or uncomfortable. However, this tendency to delay not only prevents us from being productive, but it can also create a cycle of stress and anxiety. In Buddhism, the importance of living in the present is emphasized. Zen master Shunryu Suzuki said, "Life is like a wave in the ocean. Live in the present and don't miss the wave." This means that every moment is unique and has its own intrinsic value. By saying, "I'll do it later," we are missing the opportunity to use that moment to move forward, learn, or simply enjoy the process. Procrastination is often a symptom of fear of failure, fear of success, or even fear of the discomfort that comes with change. A study from Carleton University found that procrastination is closely related to high levels of stress, anxiety, and in some cases, depression. This is because when we postpone things, we are not only delaying our tasks, but also creating a sense of guilt and self-criticism that can be mentally exhausting. Imagine you're building a house. Saying, "I'll do it later," is like leaving the foundation incomplete, thinking you can finish it later. Without a solid foundation, the house will never be stable, and anything you build on it will be at risk of collapsing. Similarly, when we put off important tasks, we are compromising the stability and success of our long-term projects. The next time you find yourself saying, "I'll do it later," try to stop and reflect on what's really preventing you from acting now. Is it fear, lack of motivation, or simply the comfort of leaving it for another time? Identifying the root of your procrastination is the first step to overcoming it. A useful strategy is to break the task into smaller, more manageable parts. This makes the task seem less intimidating and easier to tackle. You can also set a specific time limit to start, even if it's just 10 or 15 minutes. Often, once you start, you realize it's not as difficult as you thought, and you get motivated to continue. By making a conscious effort to act in the present rather than procrastinate, you not only become more productive, but also reduce stress and improve your overall well-being. Remember, the present moment is the only opportunity you have to act. Seize each moment and watch how your life begins to move in the direction you want. 8. It's your fault. Facing conflict is an inevitable part of life, and often, in the midst of chaos, it's tempting to find someone to blame. Saying, "It's your fault," is a quick and easy way to avoid personal responsibility, but it's also one of the most destructive attitudes we can have in our relationships and in our own peace of mind. Buddhism teaches us that we are all responsible for our own actions and reactions. Instead of looking for someone to blame, we are encouraged to look inward and reflect on our own contributions to the situation. Buddhist teacher Jack Kornfield says, "Forgiveness doesn't mean giving up on the truth, but letting go of the pain of our unmet expectations." This suggests that instead of blaming others, we should accept reality as it is and work on how we can improve the situation from our own perspective. A study from the University of California found that taking personal responsibility instead of blaming others is associated with higher self-esteem and better relationships. This is because when we take responsibility, we are not only being more honest with ourselves, but we are also opening the door to constructive solutions and greater mutual understanding. Imagine you're on a boat with several people and suddenly water starts coming in. Pointing fingers and saying, "It's your fault," won't fix the hole. But if everyone takes responsibility for their part and works together to repair it, the boat will stay afloat. Similarly, in any conflict, seeking blame only prolongs the problem and makes resolution more difficult. The next time you find yourself in a situation where you're tempted to blame someone else, stop and reflect. Ask yourself, what role have I played in this? Or how can I contribute to a solution instead of exacerbating the problem? This approach will not only help you resolve the conflict more effectively, but also strengthen your relationships by showing others that you're willing to take your share of the responsibility. Taking responsibility doesn't mean you have to carry all the blame, but it's an act of maturity and self-empowerment. By taking responsibility for your actions and reactions, you free yourself from the need to blame others and focus on what you can do to improve the situation. This not only improves your relationships, but also helps you grow and learn from each experience. 9. I don't like conflict. Conflict is an inevitable part of life, but many of us have been conditioned to avoid it at all costs. Saying "I don't like conflict" is a way of avoiding uncomfortable or difficult situations, but this attitude can also prevent us from resolving important issues and growing as individuals. In Buddhism, conflict is not necessarily seen as something negative, but as an opportunity for growth and understanding. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh has said, "Conflict is inevitable, but suffering is optional." This means that although we cannot avoid all conflicts, we can choose how we handle them. Instead of avoiding them, we can see them as opportunities to learn more about ourselves and others. A study conducted by the University of Michigan found that people who face conflicts directly and openly tend to have healthier and more lasting relationships. This study suggests that when we approach conflicts with an attitude of respect and a willingness to listen, we can resolve issues more effectively and strengthen our relationships in the process. Imagine you're a gardener who avoids the weeds in your garden because you don't like dealing with them. Over time, the weeds will grow and choke the healthy plants, making the garden less productive and beautiful. Similarly, avoiding conflict doesn't make it go away. It only allows the problems to grow and worsen over time. The next time you face a conflict, instead of saying, "I don't like conflict," try to see it as an opportunity to improve the situation and strengthen your relationships. Approach the conflict with an open mind and a heart willing to listen and understand. Ask, "How can we resolve this together?" instead of running away or ignoring the problem. By facing conflict proactively, you not only improve your relationships, but also grow as a person. You learn to handle difficult situations with greater calm and wisdom, and you become more resilient in the process. Remember, conflict is not something to fear. It's a natural part of life that, when handled well, can lead to greater understanding and harmony. 10. I don't care what others think. It's common to hear people say, "I don't care what others think," as a declaration of independence and self-affirmation. However, this attitude can be misleading, as it can lead to social disconnection and a lack of empathy towards others. While it's important not to live solely by the opinions of others, it's also crucial to find a balance where we respect and consider the perspectives of those around us. Buddhism emphasizes the importance of community and interdependence. Buddha said, "We should not live for others, but neither should we live without them." This means that while we must maintain our authenticity, we must also be aware of the impact our actions and words have on others. The key is to find a balance between self-expression and respect for the opinions and feelings of others. A study conducted by the University of Chicago found that people who care about the opinions of others within a healthy limit tend to have better interpersonal relationships and greater life satisfaction. This is because by valuing the perspectives of others, we can build deeper and more meaningful connections. Imagine you're a musician playing in a band. Saying, "I don't care what others think," and playing only for yourself without listening to the other members of the group would result in a cacophony instead of a beautiful symphony. Similarly, in life, completely ignoring what others think can lead to disconnection and misunderstanding. The next time you're tempted to say, "I don't care what others think," stop and consider how you can balance your authenticity with consideration for others. Ask yourself, how can I express my truth in a way that also respects others? By doing so, you'll not only stay true to yourself, but also build stronger and more harmonious relationships. By valuing the opinions of others, you're not giving up your identity, but enriching your perspective and fostering an environment of respect and collaboration. Remember, at the end of the day, we're all connected, and how we treat others largely reflects how we treat ourselves. 11. It's too late. Saying "it's too late" is a way of giving up before trying, a way of justifying inaction. It's a phrase that suggests we've missed the opportunity to make a change. But in reality, It's an excuse that prevents us from seizing the present moment to create the future we desire. Buddhism teaches us that it's never too late to start again. Life is a continuous flow of moments, and each one is an opportunity for change and growth. Zen Master Dogen said, "Each day is a life in miniature." This means that every day and even every moment is a new opportunity to start again and take a different path. A study from the University of Texas found that people who believe it's never too late to learn something new or make a change are happier and have greater life satisfaction. This study suggests that adopting a mindset of openness and willingness to change, no matter what stage of life we're in, can lead to a fuller and more satisfying life. Imagine you're in a dark forest and suddenly you see a light in the distance. Saying it's too late is like deciding not to follow the light because you think you've been lost for too long. But if you decide to follow it, that light could guide you to a new path, one that leads you out of the forest and to a better place. The next time you find yourself thinking it's too late, remember that every moment is a new opportunity. No matter how late you think it is, there's always time to make a positive change. Ask yourself, what small step can I take right now to get closer to where I want to be? By doing this, you'll discover that it's never really too late to start again. In the end, life isn't about how much time we've lost, but about what we do with the time we have left. Don't get caught up in the idea that it's too late. Instead, take advantage of every moment as an opportunity to grow, learn, and move toward the life you truly want. Now that we've explored these 11 phrases that an intelligent person inspired by Buddhist wisdom never says, it's important to remember that our words and thoughts have incredible power to shape our reality. By eliminating these phrases from our vocabulary, we're not only adopting a more positive and proactive mindset, but we're also opening the door to greater personal growth and a fuller, more meaningful life. I invite you to reflect on which of these phrases you've used in your life and how you could change it for one that empowers you and leads you to a better version of yourself. If this video has inspired you, don't forget to subscribe and leave your comments below. I'd love to hear how you plan to apply this wisdom in your daily life. See you in the next video as we continue learning and growing together.